third. Frazier gloves, throw to first, and Homer failing for the second time in his major league career has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
All right, Nick. I don't know what there is to say about today outside the fact that that is baseball. You don't get more wins and or any more losses based off of how much you win by or how much you lose by. And today we lost by a significant amount. And if they were to do such a thing in Major League Baseball to where you should get multiple wins and or multiple losses based off of a performance, the Reds would have lost 2 times today. The White Sox win 17-4. And the game got out of hand in the second inning. We'll get to that in just a moment. Got it, Graham Ashcraft, obviously, who started the game, so he's on the rundown. Stevenson and Myers, India and Steer, some Reds MILB, which there's some optimism there. Nick, I know your little man had a birthday party today, and it looks like he threw out a first pitch, so that's a positive.
Yeah, I got to throw out the first pitch for the Lake County Captains, one of 3, so they kind of really watered it down a little bit. But the other 2 were older folks, and my little guy threw it from the same spot they did, and threw it a lot closer to the plate than either one of them. So shout out Charlie.
Fair enough. Well, good for Charlie. Where do we start? This is one of those games where, you know, when you watch a game sometimes and you lose a game, you lose a lead late, or you lose a game you felt like you should have won, and the proverbial, well, I'd have just rather gotten blown out. I kind of feel like that today. I don't feel gross about this loss as much as maybe others do. It just felt like it was a baseball game that we completely got hammered in. And you just realized after, midway through that second inning, that things got out of hand. And what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to, I guess, get overly concerned. So maybe I'm the pessimistic person until you lose by 8 or more, and then I turn into the optimistic person because it's just like, well, I've lost all hope in today.
Yeah, today was a weird day too. I pretty much before every game, great website I like called Ballpark Pal. It'll tell you like the park effects, the weather conditions, and it said 40% increase in home runs at Great American Ballpark, which it normally like 10, 15 is a lot. So when I saw that 40, I was like, oh boy. I knew I should have hammered the over right there on Betfred Sportsbook. That was really just a mistake on my own part.
Right.
But second inning, our friend Joe Luckup, most runs allowed by the Reds in an inning since April 2013. So if you thought that second inning was bad, well, yep, it was really, really bad. And I don't know, you move on. I know that's the David Bell cliche, but what else are you gonna do after a loss like that? Good day to have a day off, right, Trace?
Yeah, I mean, it was about as bad as it could get. I'm gonna fire in this baseball or ballpark pal that you just mentioned for the audience. I know it's probably relatively difficult to see, but just go check out Nick's Twitter. You can scroll back a little bit and check it out. There you can see Great American Ballpark at the top, 40%. And then you put a little laugh out loud because not only that, but let me see if I can do this in real time. Probably not. No, doesn't look like it. Well, hold on. There you go. And you can see on there that there's 4 Reds, I think. Is that right?
And Reds. three of them hit home runs.
4 Reds and 3 of them hit home runs. So analytics for the win. Good for analytics, Nick. I'm glad to see that's working. So, I don't know. What am I supposed to believe in this, chat? What am I supposed to think? Am I being too soft? Am Am I getting too soft on the show by just thinking it's not that big of a deal? I'm not superstitious. Yes, I am. But I'm gonna have to get on my man Reds in 4. I'm getting close. I'm getting ready to send him not a nasty gram, but just one in general. Just says, listen, a couple weeks ago you brought up Lodolo's Cy Young odds, and you were just saying that you took a flyer on it. And this morning, you also mentioned Graham Ashcraft and the fact that his Cy Young odds had doubled, and it didn't make any sense. And here we are. So, not putting all the blame on Reds in 4, just saying he's not innocent.
Yeah. On Graham Ashcraft. I you just got to shake off a start like this. I felt like in some respects, Ashcraft was probably due for some regression. I don't think any of us out there thought Graham Ashcraft was going to put up a 2.00 ERA this season. So he's outpitched what any reasonable expectations would be. And again, we talked about the park effects. He's been given a lot of hard hit contact. I think he is the type of pitcher, Trace, that can survive that a lot more than a lot of other pitchers. But when you have a pitcher that relies on getting outs in the field, every once in a while you're just going to have a start where it all goes to hell. And today it all went to hell. And you hope his next start, I believe it's in Miami. That'll be a much more friendly park to pitch in. I wouldn't be shocked if Graham Ashcraft goes out on Friday or Saturday and throws 7 shutout innings against the Marlins. That's what Graham Ashcraft feels like to me. So, are you less concerned about him than Lodolo? I would say I'm less concerned. I'm not concerned about either, but
yeah, I would say I'm less concerned about Ashcraft of the two. I know that some people in the chat are saying my mic's a little low. I'm having a little bit of a weird situation with my mixer. It's putting off some kind of little humming noise or a buzz sound that I couldn't figure out in real time right before we jumped on the show. So I made my mic a little bit lower. And hopefully if this comes across in the podcast form in the morning, it's there, it's not. We'll figure it out. We're part-time baseball savants, and we're part-time audio engineers, video engineers, and truth is we're actually not an expert on anything. Where do I go? The only people today that had a worse time than Ashcraft in the Cincinnati Reds bullpen was the people that ran in the Flying Pig. So there is that.
Well, what was so you were downtown today? What was going on with all that? Because I was pretty busy. I heard a lot of wild chatter about it.
Well, I think people listen. I get why people were upset on one side. I understand what happened on the other side. The truth is the Flying Pig is a massive event. There's so many variables that probably go into that. There's probably obviously months worth of work that go into one day, and hell's basically going to have to freeze over for them to want to cancel that event because of all of the logistics that go with that. And money. I mean, money's important, and money's a big part of that reason. So, I looked at the radar this morning. I was downtown. I was just like, this is not good. I mean, it was about as bad as you could get. Thunderstorms, lightning. I mean, talking about, torrential downpour, flooding in the streets. It genuinely was about as bad as you could probably get in regards to an outdoor event. And, I think that the big dogs over there at the Flying Pig just said, hell with it, man. We're rain or shine, brother. If you want to run it, you can run it. If you don't think it's safe, then don't run it. That's what they decided to do. And I can tell you this. I tip my cap to many of those folks out there that were trying to finish that race because I would have just said, you know what? There's another marathon another day. I'll get to it because I don't know. I don't know if it was admirable. I think I tweeted out that I don't know if it was admirable and or just complete stupidity that I was watching. And it's probably maybe in the middle, but nonetheless, that was my take, Evan, on the Flying Pig. I just don't understand the point. We won't spend too much of this podcast discussing why people run marathons. But on a day like today, I do think it's probably a good a good time to slide in that whole experience with the flying pig.
Well, now I can add Flying Pig into all of our tags to boost our viewership. So I think a lot of people, Trace, are going to be searching for Flying Pig podcast tomorrow, and
Yeah,
we're here.
Maybe
We're
just
here
make
for
the
it.
title. Maybe make the title of it "Flying Pig" breakdown, and then just little whoop-de-doop, little bait and switch type action.
Yeah,
That's here nor there. We got one guy coming up. I do want to get into Reds MILB later. I know the chat is already popping off a little bit discussing who that's going to be. Let's get into that in just a moment. But first, Tyler Stevenson. That's a bright spot. Hit a ball over the fence. It's a good thing. Don't know how much to make of it, if we're being completely honest, without trying to be pessimistic. However, he did hit one over the fence, so maybe that rejuvenates, gets the blood flowing again. I don't know. Wishful thinking.
my take on it, and maybe Meyer's even too, is this: the ball was flying out of the ballpark. Just like we're not making too much out of Graham Ashcraft, we can't make too much out of, hey, these guys they're hitting the ball to the ballpark. But I do think it's still important, especially for a guy like Tyler Stevenson, to finally just see one go over the fence. It's like a free throw. It's like a basketball player.
That's
you
it,
get
Nick.
to the
Now
line.
You're doing some real podcasting. Let's go.
You hit that first free throw. It gets the blood flowing. Now you're ready to roll, and now you can just go out and act like you're Steph Curry for a while.
You just got to see one go through the hoop.
That's what Tyler Stevens hitting that ball over the fence meant nothing other than for his confidence. And I think for his confidence, it is a big deal in itself.
Right. For those that are new to the chat, we really do appreciate you jumping in. We have a slew of regulars in here that are going to pull your leg. They're going to do everything they can to have fun with you. Don't fall for the Vossler bait, Carrick. Just don't do it, because those guys are going to be talking about where Vossler is, extend Vossler. It's becoming a bit just. I know the chat's going to be mad at me right now because they're like, you're ruining our fun. But you gotta save some of the new people, right? It's like you gotta kind of treat them a little differently, and then once they get in here long enough, then we can continue to have fun, as you can tell. Let's see here. As far as Will Myers, I don't know what there is to discuss about him. I'll be honest. Go ahead. I'll let you do it.
I thought you were about to say, I don't give a damn about Will Myers.
I wasn't going to say it, but I do know one thing, chat. I got it bookmarked, and I got it in the noggin. Will Myers will have a better OPS
Oh, no,
than
who did I say?
Spencer Steer.
Oh, yes, I did say that.
Oh, yeah,
I did say that.
baby. Let's see how that goes.
Where are we at? I need a live update on that. Oh, boy. How much of a hole am I in? All right, we're at 759 to 615. Damn. Steer was like down at like 680 like 3 days ago too. That was much more manageable. Will, my brother, you're going to have to really, really get cooking here.
Yeah.
Whew.
Well, to be fair to you, Nick, he did have COVID, and he did have the neck gator. So the combination of the two, that actually is very difficult.
Yeah, I already
might
COVID out.
To be fair, he might have been wearing the neck gator because of the mask. So he was killing two birds with one stone there. So now that he's got that whole thing completely figured out, taken care of, I expect big things from Will Myers coming very, very soon.
As long as he didn't think the neck gator was going to keep him from getting COVID, because then I'm really concerned about Will's IQ.
Well, you never know. You got anything to add? I mean, you put him on the rundown. I got nothing to say about the guy.
No, I think it's the same thing with Tyler Stevenson. Just I think it's important for those guys to have a little bit of confidence, and they're going to need it because they're going up against Scherzer and Verlander Tuesday and Wednesday. So definitely a positive for those guys, and hopefully a step in the right direction.
Okay. Jonathan India, Spencer Steer.
How good have these two guys been?
They're good. Jonathan India is playing fantastic. I don't know. I laugh because I don't know what's gonna happen, man. It's there is something to be said about Jonathan India's defense, Because if he plays the way that he's playing, in a lot of situations, I could argue that you could say the pros outweigh the cons of the defense. We're not doing this again. We've done this at like 20 times this year. We got a whole,
I got something to say, but I don't want to say it. I don't even want to go there.
Yeah, we just can't say it because we go down this rabbit hole. It's an easy little slippery slope. I feel like it's like it's the gateway drug. We just can't do it. You got to say no. That's what they taught me in Dare in like 3rd or 4th grade. So what we're going to do is just say no to Jonathan India. We're going to congratulate the fact that he's playing great. We do love him. He's a great player for this baseball team. His hair looks fantastic if you're into that kind of thing. And that's all I got for Jonathan India. Spencer Steer, though, starting to become one of my guys.
Yeah, 3 hits today, 2 hard hit balls, 2 extra base hits. Did he? He had 3 home runs in the last 4 games. Did he another one? No, just 2 home runs in the last 4 games. But nonetheless, I mean, hadn't hit 1 out in over a month. So he's playing well. He's kind of guys like Spencer Steer. It's going to be a lot of this up and down all year, and I think with what you've seen out of Spencer Steer is probably prepare yourself. That's probably what you're going to see out of Christian Encarnacion Strand. It's probably what you're going to see out of Matt McLean. You're going to see weekends where Spencer Steer is unstoppable, and then you'll probably see stretches where they look lost at times. And that's just kind of the nature of what this season is. But yeah, Steer's playing well. It's really great to see him making some adjustments and got his OPS up to 759 right now, so it's pretty good.
That is good. I'm going to check something here really quickly. He had the top exit velocity of the day. Did Spencer Steer 105.4 for the Cincinnati Reds. Let me be clear, for the Cincinnati Reds. Luis Roberts Jr. did outdo him for the Chicago White Sox with a 109 exit velocity. For those that are wondering, Kevin Newman did DH today, and he did get a hit.
He's back.
He's been back.
It's puzzling why he's DH. I don't have a problem with Newman being on this roster, but just DHing, it feels so like wrong.
Yeah.
At least put him at second base and have India DH, or put him at third base and have Steer DH or something. It's just. I know they're viewing this year as a development season at the major league level, and I know it's hard for.
What are they doing, Nick?
They're viewing this season at the major league level as a development season.
Just offensively, or do you think they could do that for the defensive side of the ball too?
Well, I think that's why they're letting guys play defensively that probably, if you're trying to win a World Series, would be playing defensively.
Gotcha.
If you know what I'm getting at without saying it.
So do you think there's a chance that they do bring these kids up relatively soon, even if they're not ready defensively for the major leagues?
I don't know. Oh, you're getting back at me for CES. I see what you're doing there. I see what the wheels are turning.
That's what a good lawyer does.
The difference is that the other player that's here's already looked bad for a long time. The other one hasn't.
Just saying. I mean,
he's still got a fresh slate. But I mean, with Christian Encarnacion Strand, I've been thinking about this a lot. Is there Trace a argument to you call him up, you stick him at first base, and he looks awful at first base. Like it is a major problem, and could that be an issue?
It would be an issue if you decided that you wanted to make it an issue. I think that if you I don't want to say overreacted, but if you treated it as if he was maybe not going to be able to play the position ever again, then maybe so. Or if he struggles, then you say, okay, these are the things we need to work on. Let's see if you can get better. And in a month's time, have you gotten better? Have you gotten worse? Or have you stayed the same? And then over the course of, I would say, 2 months, you'd probably start to get a feel of whether or not somebody's progressing in the direction that you'd hope. Or at that point, Nick, to my whole point, that for the whole philosophy that we both had for this entire year, you kind of at least have an idea of what you got. Well, going into next year, if we want CES to be a part of this lineup every day, then he's going to have to be a part of the lineup in this spot and or this spot, and you don't have the question mark of whether or not they can play first base or not. And that's coming. I mean, for as much as we wanted to get up in arms and be upset about the idea that McLean and CES didn't come up on Friday, and they both did what they did, one hit for the cycle, as we know, the other one hit 3 home runs, and then next thing you know, oh, the front offices are a bunch of losers, and, you know, everybody's talking about how, you know, it's actually a federal crime that they didn't play for the major leagues yet, then I think we're a little bit overstating that. However, I feel very confident the fact that there's a 40-man roster spot open. One of them's coming up. I don't know how the hell you don't bring them both up, because if you bring CES up, then it's just like, I don't know, man. If I'm McLean, I'm looking around the locker room in Louisville, and I'm asking myself, like, well, what do you want me to do? I mean, what do you need me to do to where I can go up and I can hit 225, play shortstop, and be in the big leagues, or I can hit 225 and be a DH. So, I don't know if Evan's like messing around with me right now.
I think he's trolling us. This is a classic Evan troll. He's
he's
cried wolf
trolling
so
me,
many times that I can't even.
Evan, I'm going to do one thing right now, and you're going to laugh, but that you deserve this. Just know what's about to happen to you. You will deserve it. I am going to Reds Twitter right now.
I think Christian Encarnacion Strand doing some Instagram stuff that's got some people up in arms.
He did that before.
I kind of love this. I love this CES trolling. This is great. This makes me like the guy even more. One question we haven't asked, because we've asked so many stupid questions on the show about this topic and exhausted it.
No, it's been exhausted.
Is there something about Jose Barrero in this equation that we're missing? Is there something to the Reds? Because if you call it Matt McLean, he has to play shortstop, right? Or you're not moving Jonathan India midseason. I think we all agree with that, right? So McLean has to play shortstop. You're not moving Steer. So is this a thing where they're saying we want to give Jose Barrero more of a shot? And that may not be. I get everyone's going to be like, he's had his shot. He's done. Get him out of here. But is this more about the front? Is this more about Jose Barrero than Matt McLean and the front office wanting to give Barrero every single opportunity to stick?
I think that's it. And I've been trying not to say that vividly, because I don't, and not that listen, I'm not moving the needle enough to where I feel like it's going to make a huge difference one way or the other. I just don't want people to turn on Barrero and think that he needs to be performing at an incredibly high level because he's the scapegoat or he's the reason as to why the guy that we all want to see come up isn't coming up, right? Like it's like collateral damage to a certain extent, where I would hate to see that, because Jose Barrero is still young. He still has bright spots, like it or not. You can complain about his inconsistencies. I agree with the fact that sometimes he does look lost at the plate. There's times where you get frustrated based off the fact that he doesn't make the routine play, and then he turns around and makes the incredible play. There's growing pains without question with Jose Barrero. However, I don't want it to turn into this thing where we start pinning up all of our prospects against each other, and it's like, well, we don't like this guy because we need to get this guy a chance, or we need to get this guy a chance. I'd like to think that if they brought McLean up, if you had some balls, if you had some real vigor to you, I think you move India. I do. They're not going to. But I think that you can make fun of the St. Louis Cardinals all you want. In that situation, does look like a dumpster fire. But I give them a little bit of credit for at least having the marbles to just do what they think might be the best. Despite what the public's going to say, despite what the press is going to kill them on, you know that social media is going to absolutely troll you and make fun of you and tell you how stupid you are for doing what you're doing with Contreras. But I do, at least, if nothing else, Nick, respect the fact that they had the audacity to do it and try it if they truly believe that was best. I don't know if the Cincinnati Reds are doing that right now, if we're being completely frank. However, I'm okay with Jose Barrero getting some more run if that means McLean has to sit back and wait another couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the difference too, though, like the Reds have a 1% chance of reaching the playoffs right now, where the Cardinals are 20 and they had high expectations. I think this is a totally different conversation if the Reds had even a 20% or a 30% chance of reaching the playoffs. I think moving guys around, I think, maybe making some more aggressive moves makes a little bit more sense. But the more I think about this, I really do think this is more about Jose Barrero than anything else. And look, Jose Barrero is frustrating to watch. I get it. I think there's some days where I'm just like, But one point on Barrero, he has had some improvements. Like last year, he was walking in 5% of his plate appearances. It's up to 9% this year. Last year, he was striking out in 44% of his plate appearances. It's down to 27. So while the overall results are not great, and a 65 weighted runs created plus, that's not the caliber shortstop you want. There has been some progress, not as far as we'd like, but there has been some. So I can kind of see where they say we want to make sure every stone is turned over with Jose Barrero before we just send him down. Because we've talked about before, once you send Jose Barrero back down to AAA, what becomes of him? I don't know if I see a path where there's a likelihood of Jose Barrero coming back to being a big league contributor once you send him down.
Not to foo-foo that point, but I don't believe that. I think we both have varying opinions on based off of we've talked about it, based off confidence, based off of whether or not you can go down and come back up and still have success. I think you can. TJ Friedel's doing a good job of proving that right to a certain extent. And I also think Barrero has some way he can become an asset on this baseball team, and that is the defensive side of the baseball, or on the side of the diamond, if whatever you want to call it. I think if you brought McLean up and you just realize that Kevin Newman really isn't going to play anymore, you can rotate it around and get these guys enough at-bats and keep them in the lineup. And you know what? It might be goofy that McLean's DHing when you got India playing second base, but you could do that if you needed to. You could shift. Spencer Steer is going to play first base. Okay, that's fine. Nick Senzel is going to play the outfield, which I'm not suggesting that he should because he looks incredible at third base right now. He looks comfortable. But you could slide in McLean there at third base from time to time. Jose Barrero gets a day off. McLean plays shortstop. I think you can maneuver these guys around, carousel them around a little bit to where you can give them consistent at-bats. Now, one would argue whether or not that's fair or that's what you'd want to do when you bring a prospect up. Is it one of those situations where we've said before, do you want comfortability? Do you want them to feel like they have a position and they're going to play there every day to a certain extent? And there's a little bit of fluidity to this, or do you want to bring them up and it's all over the place and you're moving around the diamond and you're just going and hitting all over the lineup and or DHing. We'll see. I don't know what the Reds are going to do. I think that this is what happens when you draft a bunch of shortstops too. Not to this. I'm not saying this is a negative, but this is the negative. If there was a negative, this is the negative side of that. Not that there's a huge negative, but that's, someone's going to have to play shortstop. I don't know who it's going to be, but whoever it is, you'd like to think they're going to be pretty damn good, Nick, because they have to beat out 5 other shortstops to get the position.
I'd hope so. hope they're at least a Gold Glove finalist.
Yeah, and I mean, you can say what you want too, and we've talked about this before. It ain't going to be long, in my opinion, before Ellie's like knocking down the door to say, hey, I probably should be playing in the big leagues. He got off to a pretty bad start. If you wipe, and I know that's very easy to say, if you wipe away his first 20 at-bats when he went 1 for 20, that's easy to say. But if you did do that, Nick, you could argue that he's playing just as well as anybody. So,
and I would add, too, I'm more concerned's not the right word, but I'm more concerned about how long it's going to take Ellie De La Cruz to get up to the level that we want him to be at, whereas he might have a little bit more growing pains than a Matt McLean. So he's got to get up here this year, I think. because you need to really start seeing how close is he next year, because that really determines a lot of what your direction is going to be and how aggressive you're going to be next season. Is where is Ellie De La Cruz, because he's the needle mover. We need to turn that into a T-shirt. The
What's
needle
that?
mover, number 44, needle mover.
Yeah.
There we go. There
Yeah,
we go.
I think he is that.
One other thing that I have, chat's been mentioning this. Reaver San Martin,
Yep.
I guess said that he was hurt after the game. I mean, he was either hurt or probably going to be on a trip down to Louisville after another disappointing performance. Look, there's not a lot of dudes down there that are pitching well in the bullpen. Just kind of looking through, I guess Joel Kuhnel, he's on the 40-man roster. He's been bad for Louisville, but the Reds seem to like him. He keeps somehow finding his way through DFAs and all that. I'll give you one option that I might like, a little bit outside of the box. Ben Lively had a lot of success as a starting pitcher. Maybe just call him up and have him kind of be that, guy that could give you 2 or 3 innings, because there's especially if you're going to call a guy like Andrew Abbott, where you're not going to know how long he's going to be able to last until he starts. Most of us are AAA's only gone 5 innings. Maybe a guy like him that could just eat some innings might be a good use of that last bullpen arm.
Yeah. And I those are the things that I really do respect that our chat cares about. Like Brian, the fact that Brian cares about that
Bigly.
That's a real fan, maybe it's just because I don't know. I don't want to say that I don't care, because I do care. Does it matter? I mean, what's it matter? I think we're getting close to that point, Nick. I hate to say that, but we're getting pretty close to the point where it's like, okay, we competed in regards to thinking that we might have a chance to make some magical run, like, somehow reincarnate the miracle on ice or something. But I think that's slowly trickling away. It feels like we were the 16 seed, and we were within a couple points at halftime, and it's the first media timeout coming out of the break at halftime, and we're down by 14. You start to look around, and you're like, yeah, it's about that time, isn't it, boys? That's like, we kind of knew this was probably going to come, but here it is. It's staring us right in the face.
Let's start celebrating the seniors.
Yep. Let's start. Yeah, exactly. Let's start rolling out the kids that we want to make sure they get in the program. They can tell their grandkids they played in March Madness. As far as manipulating service time for guys, listen, I was the first one to jump on that bandwagon at the beginning of the year, and trust me, there was no one a bigger champion of manipulating service time than me. We're past that point, 1. 2, we're not going to be able to manipulate service time for guys going all the way into next year. Like, that's just not going to happen. If that happens, that's disgusting. I guess it could happen. It could happen.
There's always injuries. I don't like to put that card out there.
No, it's not even injuries. Like, okay, let's say Ellie comes up all year this year. Well, not all year, but excuse me. Like, he comes up after the All-Star break. And let's just throw out a hypothetical that he doesn't play the best in spring training the following year. I don't know. I can't even get myself to that. I don't think it's possible. So as far as the service time manipulation going into next year, I don't think anyone's going to have that. You've already heard Nick yelling. Well, yelling's a strong term. Arguing at the beginning of this year that the Reds do not do service time manipulation. It's been proven in the past. So I wouldn't concern ourselves over it a whole lot. It's not going to happen. It is what it is. We're going to get ourselves in a position. Reds MILB, Nick. We actually had a good day down there. I mean, we really did. You know who you are high on that I think a lot of people decided they were going to write off? And it was a quick write-off, by the way. One of those ones where everyone told us that the bullpen was the only reason that this team couldn't compete this year. Remember that bull, you know what? Trying to keep it a kid-rated show. Kids might be watching. But I don't remember. I don't forget. There's some people on the Bluebird app that if I didn't have a respectable job and or try to have the opportunity where I would affect other people, I would be going hard in the paint on some dudes on Twitter, real hard, because I've never seen more schoolgirl drama, just female cats in my life. I've never seen more of them on my life than Twitter. And I've wanted to go off on these guys, and I type it all up, and I go to hit send, and I just delete it. And I'm like, all right, I need to put my phone down and get the hell out of here and call it a day, because these people just overreact everywhere which way it could possibly be. So.
Yeah, I spent a lot less time on the Bluebird app than I did in years past, and tweet a lot less because sometimes it's just not worth it.
Do you know who it is, though? If you had to guess, who do you think it is?
That you wanted to go hard in the paint against today?
No. I see. I talk so damn.
I was like, are we calling people out?
No, I will call people out.
Oh, Will Benson.
It's not Will Benson.
Oh. Who had a good day today? I gotta check my notes here.
Chat.
Oh, Noelvi Marte?
Yes, Marte.
Southern League, man. Southern League.
Well, he's turning the corner a little bit. Starting to play well. It's almost like these guys, it takes them a minute to get their feet underneath them. It's almost like sometimes when it's 35 degrees outside and you're from the DR, you don't like playing in that shit. You're not very good.
Yeah, or you're just in a new level that you've never played at, and you're the youngest player, one of the youngest players in the league.
David Brown knows what's up. He hit us with the Marte. All right. Marte had a hell of a day. Go through the Reds MILB.
Yeah, let me get through one question here before I do that. Brian asked about wearing out Young without a second lefty. Look, I'm a guy that clearly loves the platoon splits and all that. With kind of where the Reds are at, I'm not sure that I necessarily am desperate to completely right-left matchup. I think you just find the best spots for Alex Young, and then a lot of nights there's not a good lefty, so you're kind of stuck with what you got at this point. So I do think he needs to calm down using Alex Young a little bit, because I'd like to see Alex Young make it at least to the All-Star break. But yeah, I don't know if I'm really worried about the left-right. I think you just need to use him less and just live with what you got. But all right. Little Bats 4-3 winners today over Omaha. Bats improved to 13-19 on the season. Andrew Abbott, could it be his final start in AAA? Could he be making his debut this upcoming weekend in Miami? We'll see. 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. He did allow 2 home runs today, but Abbott has a season ERA of 2.05. and he has 60 strikeouts in 30.2 innings pitched. What a pitcher. Ellie De La Cruz, 1 for 5, but did hit his 3rd home run. Really starting to drive the ball, really starting to hit the ball hard. Matt McLean, 1 for 4 with a walk. Christian Encarnacion Strand, 2 for 4. And Will Benson got on base 3 times today, including a double. Will starting to heat up a little bit. I want to ask you one thing about Will before we move on. Is there some benefit to Will Benson playing with all these superstars that the Reds have in AAA? Is there any benefit to him playing with Ellie and McLean and CES and him kind of, hey, there's some players here? I don't know.
I don't.
Am I really stretching it?
Nah, yeah, you're trying hard to get Will back on track, and I respect that out of you. You're doing your best you possibly can. You're rubbing 2 nickels together is what you're doing. There's some merit to these guys at the AAA level playing together. I've said that from the very get-go. So I'm okay with CES, McLean, and Ellie playing extended periods of time together, and I know that many of the chat don't like to hear that. However, those guys are ready to come up. So it's at this point it's getting to where you can't argue the idea of whether or not they should play together, because when it's time to come up, it's time to come up, and it's It's I don't want to say it's past its time, but we're pretty much at it and or damn near past it. I do think one thing that you can take away from this, though, and I'm being serious when I say this. I do think when those guys come up, whether it's CES, McLean, Ellie's probably going to be the last of those two. Of the three, he'll be the last one. I do think that helps with the culture because I think when those guys go up, even if they're not winning, I think in the back of their mind, they're going to be like, yeah, but we got some dudes that are coming up here in a minute that I ain't worried about. I mean, yeah, we got Will Myers maybe hitting right now. We might have Kevin Newman DHing, but, in about a year from now, 2 years from now, definitely, it's going to be a different baseball game, just so you all know. I mean, you can get your licks in now if you'd like, but just saying, stuff's about to change. And maybe it doesn't change. And you know what? If it doesn't change, that's fine. All the people come out on Twitter and tell us how stupid we are. We're just this optimistic bunch of people. It'll never change. Blah 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 blah. But I look up at the standings and the Pirates are in first. So, it's just weird how if you get to pick at the top of the draft a lot, eventually you're probably gonna get lucky. You run into a couple guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm getting to the point where, as excited as I'm going to be about these fellows coming up, I think I probably could be more excited just because I'm going to be excited about some people's health. Because I think people are really starting to get themselves in a real tizzy about how long they're taking to come up. I think some people need it. They need the breath of fresh air. All right. Chattanooga, also winners, 8-6 over Birmingham. Chattanooga Lookouts, they're 14-13, our only affiliate over 500. Nelvi Marte, 2 for 4, hit his 5th home run of the year. Marte, 4 home runs in his last 4 games. Now has an 842 OPS, which is hell of impressive in that league this year. So Nelvi Marte, he's a dude. Let's not forget about him. He's not far behind. He's really not. Connor Phillips also pitched to this game. 5 innings pitched, 2 runs allowed. 2 walks, but did strike out 9. Season ERA right now at 3.67, 43 strikeouts and 27 innings pitched. So overall, pretty successful start to the season for Phillips, who's didn't get to Double-A until late last year. Dayton, they lost 4-3 to Lansing. Jose Acuna, starting pitcher, continues to impress. 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, only 1 run. No walks and 9 strikeouts. Season ERA now at 2.42 with 24 strikeouts and 22 in the 3rd innings. Edwin Arroyo, though, he's struggling right now, 0 for 5. Tyler Callahan, though, 2 for 4, hit his 3rd home run of the season. And our fellows at Daytona, they lost again. They're now 9-18 on the year. Not a whole lot. Yeah, I jinxed them. Collier 0 for 4. Jorge 0 for 4. Hector Rodriguez was 2 for 4, and Sal Stewart walked twice and stole a base. So there you go. But Trace, we got a whole lot of nothing on Monday. We got no Reds. We got no Reds MILB. I got to put on a movie or watch the NBA or something. I don't know.
Yeah, what are we gonna do with our lives? Couldn't imagine without it.
Probably just watch an old game on YouTube.
There you go.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on not today, because today was bad, and we're not even really talking about the day. Today's one of those days you just rip up the tape, you burn the tape, whatever you want to call it. You don't watch it, you move on. My final thought is this. Edwin Arroyo is 19 years old, so
patience.
It's one of those things where it's not even patience to a certain extent, Nick. It's also just like having an understanding that 19 years old, like think about these guys' ages sometimes when you think through this. 19 years old, think about yourself when you were 19 years old. And then on top of that, think about what your body type and what you were as a person and as an individual when you were 23 years old. That is a vast difference. It's an incredible difference. So I'm not even going to read into the fact of whether or not Arroyo is playing well or not playing well and all that. So tomorrow, like you said, there is no Reds. There is the opportunity, though, to listen to BLP, as you put in the chat. I just seen it. Big League Paul. Thom Brennaman is not in the office tomorrow. Not sure what he has going on, but that's here nor there. Doesn't matter. We got a guy named Paul Fritchner. I'm interested to see.
Rising star.
Of course. I'm trying to think of a better opportunity for Big League Paul to really put himself on the map. I don't think there is. I mean, some people would say, he could call Xavier games. He could maybe get a stint. He could do maybe some Cincinnati Reds baseball play-by-play, But really, it's off the bench. That's the first step of stardom. And tomorrow, that's going to go on at 10 a.m. till noon Eastern. And you know what else, Nick, that I just thought about? Is that the Reds play more baseball games. And when they do play more baseball games, we don't have to talk about tonight or today. Because they play again. And when they do play again, who do they play, Nick?
All right, Reds and Mets get underway Tuesday, 6:40 at Great American Ballpark. Tickets still available. Mets are struggling. They've lost 4 straight series. Of those series, lost series to the Nationals, the Tigers, and the Rockies this past weekend. Just 3-11 overall in their last 14 games. Some might say that's encouraging. I kind of look at that and go, they're probably due. But it is what it is. Max Scherzer, he returned from his 10-game suspension for using sicky substance, and he got rocked in his return last week by the Tigers. Allowed 6 runs, 2 home runs, and 3 in the third inning. Will Myers has 2 career home runs against Scherzer. So that's a positive. Everything else, not a positive. Career 1.67 ERA in 10 starts against the Reds and 0.27 in 4 starts at Great American Ballpark, including a 6 shutout inning gem last year. Luke Weaver, he didn't allow a home run in his last start after allowing 5 in the 2 before. So hopefully that's a step in the right direction. Career 4.66 ERA in 2 starts against the Mets, but he has not faced them since 2018.
I got something to say about Weaver. He's going to shove.
It's time.
He's going to pick this Reds ball club right off the mat. If you've never seen it, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go on YouTube and you type in Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, spoiler alert, is going to get knocked to the canvas in the late rounds. And I want you to see what Tyson Fury did. That is exactly what Luke Weaver is going to do for the Cincinnati Reds. He's going to rise from the mat when everybody thinks that he's going to stay down. And you know what else I like about Luke Weaver? Is he's got the best damn cleats east of the Mississippi. So do me a favor. This is for Weaver. Be positive. Be optimistic. Think about what he's done for us. And most importantly, keep watching our show because we love you. Go Reds!